There is quite a lot going on with Ubisoft at the moment. This is maybe not one of the major issues. They've got Shadows coming up. That was delayed. There was a bit of an issue with one of the main characters. They've switched things back. It's not looking very good on a PR front, but let's just hope that game is not awful, because none of us want to see that studio fail, I don't think. They deserve to burn, Coop, for what they've done to us with all of their Outlaws debacle, Skull and Bones. Mirage didn't exactly change any lives.
These men are pawns.
I put a price of 20,000 dirham on their heads.
Next, they will be hailed as the true messenger of God.
My point being, they're strong enough for them to carry that reputation through some of this bad stuff. I hope. I'm saying that with my fingers crossed. Strangely, I would have looked at this game on PC anyway, because I've extensively gone through it on the PlayStation 5, and reminder, it only runs at 2K and 60 frames per second. I have 60 frames per second over here, 1080, but that slider on the terrain detail, everything, sky, sand, all of it is moved up to high, and that is a huge difference to that console version over on Sony. That one's important to remember. I think after Ubisoft was swallowed up by Microsoft and Xbox, the Sony side of the games kind of got a little bit neglected when it came to upscaling and updating. We saw this with Odyssey, we totally have seen it with Black Flag, and of course Origins is in that lineup. If you've heard me talk about the game before, you'll know I'm a bit of a fan of where it stands in the series. I'm talking about some of those boat mechanics and slight changes in the close quarters combat. This one does away with any fiddly naval activities. They all come back for Odyssey, and of course the game prior to this was a lot more involved when it came to seafair. Now we're just going to flex a little bit here. I'm going to show you some of these reflections and how smooth the game and camera works when everything's going full pelt. It's kind of beautiful. Okay, so back to the reason I've made the video. So you read that article about the Windows 11 update bricking the game. It was more than that. It was turning my whole PC off. It was dangerous. I was blue screening when the game starts. It gets into the load, and I thought it was a corrupt save because that blasted app, the Ubisoft app, cloud syncs, and my save's from like 2021, and I'm thinking that's got to be the problem. So I blitzed all of that and had to go from the start again. But get this, it is still hugely problematic on the PC. I suffered so many crashes to try and grab this footage. Literally, I get like 5 or 10 minutes and then bang, I'm kicked out. So it was now or never, I felt. Make hay whilst the sun is shining and get this out, A, before Shadows, and B, before it completely stops working. And you might be thinking, Coop, you made a video about Odyssey literally 2 or 3 months ago saying, why it's so perfect on the PlayStation 5, like the best thing ever. Well, it is really good over on that PlayStation 5 consoles, not like Origins, where they have blatantly turned all of the terrain detail and sort of inclusion, smoke, mist activity down. It's very noticeable for me.
Well, all that you asked for.
Just 2 things before I forget. I'm going to be using this clip quite a lot throughout the video, because if you know about the changes to Crocodile Dundee, and also just finish off this story about why this damn video is coming out now. My PC was also crashing constantly during the period of which Origins was going through its bricked process, which as far as I'm concerned it's still going through. So I had no idea there was a problem with the game. I thought it was my side. You guys might remember the whole thing was shut down for 2 weeks. So again, that caused confusion for me. And again, every time it works, I record, try and scrape enough footage together for a video, which I think I've managed. The underwater stuff, that yellow tint on the water, those crocodiles, it's really incredible over on PC. I cannot shout about that enough. And I was thinking about this, I had a bit of a conundrum in my head, and I'm not a developer or a coder, so I'm not sure how all this works, and I'd really love some feedback on it if you do. When they produce a video game like this, the finished product before release, is that the ultra version of the game that would be sitting on the PC at some point? And then do they downgrade from there to fit it onto consoles of lesser power? Or does it start at the low medium and all of this extra terrain detail and smoke and mirrors, is that included after the initial release date? I know that sounds quite complicated. Some of you might be knowing what I'm talking about here. So give me some feedback in the comments on that one. I did not overreact to that crocodile attack at all. I'm pretty sure it's the first one. I'm pretty sure these games are made as the developers intended, you know, on a top-end PC. They're the only things that can handle all of that code and production. They see it in its sort of final fruition and then have to pull bits away. I think a prime example of that might have been Cyberpunk 2077 when they were running that finished product on some of the biggest NASA PCs available. And then they had to put it out on a PlayStation 4 and they're like, oh no, we've got to go to Stickmen.
Clear the way.
What made you think you'd survive this? Hey, what you will pay, corpse!
I might be suffering from something that I call 1080 crunch. What that means is that everything is condensed that I'm used to seeing on a larger 2K or 4K screen. I get this a lot with Switch games. When it's reduced right down to that beautiful little screen, everything just seems a lot more crisp and embedded. I don't think that's happening here. I probably should have researched what sort of effects are included in that. High settings on PC. I did go to Ultra, but it didn't give me 60 frames. I stuck at medium and it gave me 75. And my archaic monitor does actually cater for such a number. Can you start talking about the actual goddamn game, mate, because you have been beating round some non-existent bush for up to 7 minutes? Yeah, Origins does something really interesting with the combat. First off, it offers you a slot for a shield, and it also allows you to guard with said shield. But get this, it allows you to counter, Dark Souls style, swing out the shield and get a window of nice slowdown for a counter-attack, or parry as it's known. It also has these sort of unique weapon stances for whatever you've got equipped. Two-handed, you've got dual swords, there's big axes. The variety is very good, and along with this setting, which I feel is one of the strongest in the series, the pyramids, that beautiful Nile River, and the crazy wildlife, that one's super important, Valhalla. It sort of ticks an incredible amount of boxes for me, and getting to see it again, I go through that system where I play this game on launch on a PlayStation 4. Then it was really cool for me to see it over on the 5 with those minor boost, but then on the PC everything ramped up and 1080 crunch. I'm in heaven and I'm really enjoying the game when it's not crashing. It's breaking my heart that this thing's going on at the moment. And is it affecting you, or is my PC actually terminally ill? I think it's the latter.
When he comes, I will talk to him about selling myself into bonded labor.
My only disappointment with it, and Odyssey kind of excels in this area, and Valhalla to a certain extent, is offering more than one slot for your cosmetic armor, or just on an RPG level, you know, switching out the helmets, the braces, the mid area. I like to mix and match and just have that incentive to find really cool sets of armor. Getting a whole set is also a definite Monster Hunter. Wilds is out soon. It is just a singular overall outfit, but that's okay. You also get something to switch out on the horse. The weapon variety sort of makes up for this, and it also doesn't have those hotkey, highly OP moves that we see on Odyssey and Valhalla, where you just get to jump in the air 12 feet and insta-kill stuff. It's a bit more grounded, a bit more boots on the ground. That's the expression I'm looking for. A bit more sandals on the ground. There you go.
Great warrior, come. I sell you what...
You are but a boy.
There's still that weird kid who can dimensionally travel through the Animus, I'm assuming, and offer you online sort of incentive live game quest lines, and there's a certain element that's quite difficult to grind for that gives you access to sort of higher end weaponry and armor. That keeps the game fresh, and I'm surprised there's still new stuff in there that probably hasn't been updated for a year or so.
This area is off limits.
It also has a very slick and natural feeling aim system and a lot of variety on different bows. There's like a shotgun one, sniper ones, predator bows, ones that fire 3 shots. You can also control the arrow to a certain extent with those ability adjusts. So there is still massive incentive to go for that sort of build. But for me, it's that hand-to-hand stuff, the animations and the gore. I think it's one of the goriest of the recent Assassin's Creeds. I have said that before.
You're dead! Dead! Target is in range! I have him!
So instead of a hotkey system like we saw in Odyssey, we've got a go crazy button, which is built up and then released and does have unique animations and outcomes depending on what weapon you've got equipped. Everything goes yellow. It is a bit strange, but it's damn handy. The enemies do push back quite a lot on this one, particularly at higher rank. The story is also not terrible. I don't really invest in a lot of Assassin's Creed stories. I'm much more occupied with the open world system, laughing at the awesome jankiness of all of the NPCs. I did want to notice that. This one's got some of the more hilarious in all of the games. I don't know how they get that right. Every NPC in a recent Assassin's Creed game is just mad as a hatter. And that's a video for another time. Here's a good example of the terrain detail and how it really just improves everything for me when I'm existing within this open world. I do not remember this level of detail over on the PlayStation 5. Maybe it's the 2K 1080 crunch syndrome kicking in, but everywhere I look, I'm really pleased with this game. That goes for the shadows and all of the mist and draw distance. Those pyramids are freaking spectacular.
Pitiful. What made you give up on life? Worms take you!
It's also got a sort of primitive version of that nemesis system through the barbarians hunting you down and you having to deal with them if you cause too much grief, and they will make sure they're everywhere all the time when you don't want them to be. That's an added aspect, and I really enjoyed that in Odyssey. With it being the location in Egypt and the time period, there is just killer hippos, crazy lions and crocodiles that want to eat your arm off every turn, every bit of water you swim in. There's no downtime with the wildlife, and I really appreciate that. Mirage had like 2 ostriches in it.
That's help! You're going to pay!
Pulled the shield up and managed a parry off the guy coming from the other direction. Yeah, I am playing Wulong at the moment. That kind of feels really empowering and quite cool in an Assassin's Creed game. I know it's leaning a little bit too much in the Souls direction, but it's still quite a cool thing to have in this game. In Odyssey, you have this like double button, massive window, huge sparkly bounce off thing. It feels good, it looks amazing, but it's not as technical as the parry system within Origins, I feel.
Whoa.
Can we just have a little section talking about the crocodiles, and only the crocodiles? Of course we can. I think they're one of the better animated animals in the Creed series. Their underwater movements, their aggression. This bit, I couldn't swim away. They will actually grab you and stop you. You have to go underneath the water's surface to sort of double back on them, and they'll still come at you. They'll still attack the boat, they'll attack you on the land, they'll attack you in the sea, or the river rather. So top marks for awesome adversaries. Enemies. When I was playing that Assassin's Creed Mirage, I was noticing the sand, the top level of sand, moving over a stationary one. It was like slipping down. It looked phenomenal. There's none of that in this dune or desert section, but you do have sandstorms coming in. You have a day and night that just looks perfect. The lunar on these dunes and some of the amazing stars, that's incorporated in some of the quests. It really is a giver when it comes to camelback or desert-based gameplay. Any other good deserts in video games? Monster Hunter Wilds comes out soon. Just leave it, mate. Deserts on Earth. You got Desert Storm, haven't you? Some of the dust getting blown up by those helicopter blades, mate. That was on the Master System. And it was called Desert Strike, you frickin' tourist. This is me having the genius idea of throwing my only 3 firebombs at a waterlogged alpha Crocodile, and they just went out instantly, had no area effect, and he just charged me. Well, his minions did. The Alpha Beast quests are really good. You go in some caves, take on massive coyotes. There's cheaters in this game as well. I think there might be a giant scorpion. Don't quote me on that. That's Ark, mate, okay? You're getting a bit senior. No, there's definitely a big giant snake thing that you fight in a boss arena. It doesn't stick to its guns on realism when it comes to some of that story and gameplay. I like that. It sort of goes a little bit off into the Egyptian fantasy realms, which is, again, dark and very cool. Okay, I think that might be my lot on Assassin's Creed PC after the Windows 11 update. There's loads more footage left. I'll keep hold of it. I did want to mention that I'm thinking about putting out some more content on Wukong and Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon, because I've got through another huge swathe of the game and would love to show you, some of that mid to end content. So give me some feedback on that. Maybe I'll do a part 2. I was, of course, Couch Coop, and I will see your Egyptian ass down there.